Dead assets are quietly making you poor. Did you know that sometimes the things we think are assets are actually draining our finances? I still remember a conversation with Richard, a friend of mine who was once a successful executive. He was standing in his garage, looking at his brand new Mercedes-Benz, an expensive boat, with disappointment. "Tom, I appear wealthy, but the reality is I'm drowning in debt. Everything I own is losing value, while the bills keep coming every month." That was the moment I realized the difference between dead assets and living assets. And today, I want to share with you about the dead assets that are silently draining your wealth, things that most people our age own without realizing their true impact. So what is a dead asset? It's simple. It's anything you buy that decreases in value over time instead of increasing. And the sad part is, many of us are pouring most of our income into these dead assets, rather than into assets that can generate returns and help build long-term wealth. Before we dive deeper, I want you to comment, assets. If you're ready to reassess what you own, this simple commitment could be the first step to changing your financial future. What is the most common dead asset that almost all of us have? A brand new car. I know, nobody wants to hear this. We love new cars. The smell of new leather, the feeling of driving something nobody else has touched. But from a purely financial perspective, a new car might be one of the worst decisions you've ever made. Look at the numbers. The average car loses 20 to 30% of its value in just the first year. Think about it. If you buy a $40,000 car, you've just lost $12,000 after only 12 months. That's equivalent to taking $1,000 every month and throwing it out the window. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Margaret, a 58-year-old viewer of mine, shared that she bought a new SUV for $45,000 when she retired, thinking it would be her last car. She paid $750 a month for 5 years. The problem was that she didn't account for a higher insurance, an extra $150 per month compared to her old car, expensive dealer maintenance, and depreciation. After 5 years, she had paid a total of $54,000, including interest, and the car was now worth about $15,000. That's a $39,000 loss, enough to fund an annual vacation for 10 years of retirement. But here's the thought-provoking part. If Margaret had bought a 3-year-old used car for $20,000 and invested the remaining $25,000 in a simple portfolio with an average 7% return, after 5 years, she would have about $35,000 in her investment account and still have a good car worth around $10,000. Total, $45,000 instead of $15,000. That's a $30,000 difference. And this isn't just about cars. Look at your house. Is it a living asset or a dead one? The answer might surprise you. Many people think the home they live in is a fantastic investment, but the reality is much more complex. Robert Kiyosaki, author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, controversially stated that the home you live in isn't an asset, it's a liability. Why? Because it continuously takes money out of your pocket. Property taxes, maintenance, repairs, utilities. Yes, its value may increase over time, but after calculating all expenses and adjusting for inflation, many homeowners are surprised to find that their house isn't the amazing investment they thought it was. Jim, a retired engineer at 63, shared with me that when he calculated all the costs of owning his 4-bedroom house over the past 20 years, he discovered it cost him $8,500 annually after accounting for appreciation. If I had downsized sooner and invested the difference, he said, I could have retired 5 years earlier. This leads us to the next big dead asset, and that is expensive electronics and technology. I used to pride myself on always having the latest iPhone, the biggest TV, and the best sound system. Then one day, I happened to open a drawer and saw a graveyard of old phones and used tablets and countless cables for devices that no longer exist. I had spent tens of thousands of dollars on things that are now virtually worthless. Susan, a 52-year-old client of mine, had a financial breakthrough when she realized she had spent over $50,000 on electronics in the past 10 years. Every time I upgraded to a $1,000 phone, I thought, oh, this is just a small expense compared to my budget, she said. But when I added it all up, I could have bought a small rental property in some markets with that money. And here's the worst part. Each electronic device not only loses value extremely quickly, but is designed to become obsolete through software updates and new features, forcing you to constantly upgrade. It's a money-draining cycle that many people our age don't realize they're caught in. Next on the list of dead assets is something many of us at our age have accumulated over a lifetime: high-end furniture and household items. I know this might be controversial, but think about that $5,000 sofa in your living room. Does it bring you any returns? Or did it lose value the moment it was brought into your home? Bill and Mary, a newly retired couple, shared with me that they spent $35,000 redecorating their home when their children moved out. 2 years later, they decided to downsize and move to an apartment. Guess how much they sold all that new furniture for? For $1,200, less than 15% of the original value. It was an expensive lesson, Bill said. We could have invested that money in dividend stocks and had additional monthly income for retirement. But perhaps the biggest, quietest, and most dangerous dead asset many people our age carry is high-interest credit card debt. This isn't just a debt. It's a financial black hole. With current average interest rates around 18 to 24%, every dollar you owe on credit cards is quickly becoming $1.20, then $1.50, and more. Carol, a 59-year-old nurse, told me through tears that she had paid over $30,000 in interest over the past 5 years on a $15,000 credit card debt, and she still owed $14,000. If I had invested that $500 monthly payment instead of paying credit card debt, she said, I could have had $35,000 in my retirement fund instead of still being in debt like I am now. Another fairly common dead asset for people our age is unused properties, especially vacation homes or second houses. Statistics show that the average vacation home is only used 4 to 6 weeks per year, but you pay for maintenance, taxes, and utilities for all 52 weeks. Michael, a retired doctor, bought a mountain cabin for $320,000 10 years ago. We thought the whole family would use it regularly, he said. But in reality, we only go up there about 3 to 4 times a year. When I calculated the total cost of ownership, we've been paying about $2,500 for each day we actually spend there. We could have stayed in 5-star hotels and still save money. But don't be discouraged. Recognizing that you own dead assets is the first step to change. And the good news is there's a simple but powerful solution: converting dead assets to living assets, assets that actually work for you instead of the other way around. Sandra, a 61-year-old retired teacher, sold her luxury car and bought a used car for $22,000 less. She invested the savings in a dividend ETF. My new car still gets me where I need to go, she said, but my investment gives me about $115 in dividends every month. That's free gas for the entire year. So, how do you transition from dead assets to living assets? That's exactly what we'll discuss next. Living assets are those that increase the value of your bank account rather than depleting it. They generate profits, create income, and often appreciate in value over time. And the best part? You can convert your dead assets into living assets much more easily than you might think. Take Henry, a 67-year-old retired client of mine. He had a 5-bedroom house worth $600,000 that he and his wife had lived in since their children were young. Each empty bedroom is $120,000 sleeping, I told him. After much consideration, he sold the big house and bought a comfortable 2-bedroom condo for $300,000. With the remaining $300,000, he purchased 2 small rental properties. Now, instead of living in an oversized house that's taking money from me each month, Henry said, I have a perfect place for the 2 of us and rental income of $2,800 monthly from those properties. That's $33,600 annually, almost double my Social Security. This is the power of converting dead assets to living assets. But there are many ways to do this beyond rental real estate. Linda, a 58-year-old homemaker, sold her expensive jewelry collection, items she rarely wore, and invested $22,000 in a dividend stock portfolio. I realized those diamonds were sitting in a safe, doing nothing, she said. Now, my money generated about 4 to 5% annually in dividends plus long-term value growth. The most important thing is that you don't need to be wealthy to start converting dead assets to living ones. You just need a plan and the determination to execute it. Here are 4 simple steps I guide my clients through, and I encourage you to do the same. The first step is analysis. Take a Sunday to list all your assets and categorize them as either dead or living. Be honest. Is that luxury watch really an asset or just a way to display status? Does your boat bring enough joy to offset the cost of ownership? This honest assessment might be the hardest thing you'll ever do, but also the most important. Frank, a 64-year-old lawyer, was shocked to realize that 78% of his assets were dead, things that were losing value and costing him money. I look wealthy, he said, but I'm getting poorer every year because of the choices I've made. The second step is to create a gradual conversion plan. Don't try to change everything at once. Start with your most expensive dead asset. For most people, that's a car or an oversized house. Map out a realistic plan to convert it into a living asset within the next 6 to 12 months. Nancy, a 59-year-old executive, decided to sell her expensive BMW and buy a used Toyota. The difference was $32,000. She invested that money in a dividend-paying ETF. The new car isn't as luxurious, she admitted, but it gets me where I need to go. And I love watching the dividends being added to my account every quarter. The third step is automation. As you start freeing up money from dead assets, automatically transfer it into investment accounts that will purchase living assets, dividend ETFs, index funds, or other income-producing investments. Don't let the money sit in a bank account where it might be spent on other dead assets. Finally, the fourth step is education. Spend at least 30 minutes each day learning about investment strategies, financial management, and asset building. Many people our age weren't taught these skills when young, and our education system still doesn't teach them. But in the internet age, knowledge is free and accessible. Harold, a 55-year-old mechanic, started listening to financial podcasts during his lunch breaks. After 6 months, he was confident enough to start a simple investment portfolio. I always thought investing was for the rich or for people with college degrees, he said. Now I realize it's for anyone willing to learn and be patient. And remember, transitioning from dead assets to living assets isn't about living a deprived life. It's about making smarter choices that will create more freedom and security. Marie, a retired 72-year-old accountant, summed it up perfectly. I live in a smaller apartment and drive a cheaper car than most of my friends. But I travel to Europe twice a year and never worry about bills. They look wealthy, but I feel wealthy. That's the difference. So I want to challenge you. Commit to identifying at least one dead asset in your life in the next week and plan to convert it into a living asset. Maybe it's that expensive car, the oversized house, or even a closet full of expensive clothes you rarely wear. Comment below and let me know which dead asset you'll start with. Remember, it's never too late to change your relationship with assets. Whether you're 45, 55, or 75, every decision you make from today forward can bring you closer to the financial freedom and security you deserve. If this video has helped you, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more practical advice on how to build wealth at any age. Next week, we'll talk about how to create passive income from your hobbies, even if you have no business experience. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.